Welcome to Cold Hard Trash CRT episode 53. I'm your host, Trashcan Jones.
And I'm Breeeeg, your fellow host.
And joining us today for our first time as a guest, Mr. Danny Whittick.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the pod.
Thanks for coming. So you have brought with us a topic of discussion, the Final Destination movies you wanted to talk about.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the new Final Destination Bloodlines just came out, and I've been a little bit hyperfixated on the franchise recently.
Hell yeah. I've never seen the Final Destination movies. You went and saw the Final Destination one with Danny today. Have you seen any of the other ones, Brendan?
After the movie, I've come to the realization, no. I've definitely seen clips. I've seen bits and pieces, you know, I know what the deal is. I thought it was if you saw someone die from the Final Destination thing, then you were next, but it turns out it's like everyone that was supposed to die in one big thing who survived.
Yeah.
Then they go in order of when they were supposed to die. It's not like a witnessing thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was something like death follows the person who like cheated death or something.
No, so here, I can explain the premise
Please.
To you, and there will be probably spoilers for the Final Destination franchise all the way up to the newest one. So
Skip to enter timestamp.
Yeah, I'm definitely not doing that.
So essentially, in every movie, they're pretty formulaic. So all of the movies are pretty much follow the same sort of plot line. So at the beginning of the movie, it'll like open up on a big catastrophic event. And you'll see like all of it unfold. So you'll see like basically the entire cast die, and then it'll cut back to an earlier part, and you'll realize that all of that was like a premonition that one person was having.
Oh.
And then they prevent the deaths of themselves and like a handful of other people. So there's like in the first movie, it's like a plane crash or like a plane explosion. So he gets like a bunch of people off the plane. In the second one, it's like a car pileup. There's like the very classic scene that you probably think of if you know anything about the Final Destination franchise, with like the log truck and the log coming off the truck and going through and smashing somebody through the windshield. And then third one is roller coaster crash. Fourth one is like a crash at like a like NASCAR thing, like a car racing thing.
Yeah.
And
I vaguely remember trailers for that one, seeing like the car whipping through the cage and everything.
Yeah. And then the fifth one is a bridge collapse.
Okay.
So in each one, like a bunch of like handful of people's lives get saved, and then afterwards, the people keep dying in like accident,
right? Like systematically,
freak accidents, yeah, like Rube Goldberg death traps.
That's what I wanted to talk about. So these movies are basically just murder porn.
Yeah, pretty much. It's I think Charlie XCX just made a TikTok about it and said it really beautifully. It's just hot people dying. It's just hot people dying, and it's wonderful, and you can just watch a bunch of like really cool orchestrated deaths. There's a few that definitely fall flat, but like, you know,
sure, throwing darts at the
downs.
wall. I was gonna say you're gonna hit a couple bullseyes, you take your shots.
Yeah, exactly. And the first three movies are like very much like it all focuses on like high school students. So like it definitely feels like the like kind of teen sort of slasher
teen
films.
movie. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And
I was gonna say I'm a huge fan of the slasher films like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, and all that. It's just not to derail it too far, but my favorite. I want to talk about like the favorite type of death. Do you have one from the Final Destination series?
Oh man, there's so many really good ones. Just like really brutal scenes that are like almost a little hard to watch. I think the most ridiculous one, which I love the ridiculous ones. The most ridiculous one is I think it's in 5, where this one character goes to swim to the bottom of the pool, and then the like suction at the bottom of the pool for some reason gets turned on really high, and his ass gets stuck on the suction, and then the pressure builds, and then it like pulls all of its guts his guts like
That's a
out
thing.
into the pool filter.
Yeah. Oh my
it's,
God.
It's like so ridiculous.
That's
but
what
it's
was on 1,000 Ways to Die. I'm pretty sure that's like a thing people have died from. That's a real.
Nice throwback to last episode.
Did we talk about 1,000 Ways to Die last episode?
Yeah, 52.
Oh shit, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite death of the series? You said you never watched the Final Destinations, Breeeeg, but have you seen any slasher films, horror films besides that?
I mean, of the Final Destination series that I've seen so far, there was one kill with an MRI machine in this most recent one.
Yeah, I've seen the behind the scenes of that.
Yeah, me too. And I didn't know it was Final Destination. I just thought MRI machine accident, because that's real.
Yeah, it could be.
Like it shows up in plenty of media.
Getting the butt plug while you're getting the MRI, and then it just.
Well, this was like a wheelchair. Like he stood in between the MRI machine and a wheelchair, and the wheelchair got yoinked all the way through. And nice little detail, you could see like the bar go up for like the level of like magnetism. And so typically when you're operating an MRI, you do like 1.5 Teslas or 3 Teslas. And then you can go all the way up to 7, but that's typically like only done in like research settings and stuff like that.
Sure.
And so after it hit 3 on the bar, the next section of the bar was labeled research only.
And
I was like, yo.
There's a little detail.
Yeah, like they actually did that. But then, the machine got sucked in.
Ugh, yeah, I've seen it split him in half backwards. It's a rough one.
Yeah.
I think the like sort of genius part of the Final Destination franchise is just how like they very much like play on like things that are like very mundane in our lives now, but are like you still kind of get scared of them. Like the MRI machine, it's like that's kind of like a scary sort of thing, like roller coasters. It's like, oh, people like, thousands of people go on roller coasters a day, but it's still like, no, this makes me nervous, because like we don't live in a world anymore where we have that like constant like need to like survive and be afraid for our life. But then there's like these it plays on these like mundane things that you go through every day that like kind of put you on edge and like really exploiting that.
Right, activates that survival instinct a little bit.
I was thinking about this and also like the true crime genre, where it is sort of like, a lot of us have pretty mundane lives, and by listening to something with like a lot of thrill and people are dying and shit like that. The Final Destination takes it the route of like, it is mundane things for the most part, and then all of a sudden you're gone.
You're about to be dead.
True crime is like, this is an actual thing that happened, but not to you, and they're all like, let's go, girlies. Let's talk about this gruesome woosome.
It takes because I think at a certain point with like horror movies, it's like, I know ghosts ain't real,
right?
I know, could there be like a big murderous like killer out to get me? Yeah, but I can kind of put that, like, compartmentalize that away from my day-to-day experience. It's like, can I compartmentalize away like logs coming off of a truck and like
as
going
I'm
through my
driving
car
down the
as I'm
highway.
driving behind them?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, I'm encountering this like in every day-to-day sort of things, it's like freaky in a different way.
That's my favorite type of like when the horror slasher kills, when they do like the ones that you almost don't expect because it just uses part of the mundane. Like my favorite one of all time, I think it's in Friday the 13th part 3 or 4, where it's just a coat hanger, like one of those ones that looks like the octopus that has the little things. He just picks someone up and then hangs them on the back of their head, like right in the hole of their skull, into that. And it's just a really simple does that, walks away, and you're just like, ooh, like it just hits you like the more you think about it, you're like, ooh.
And you go into your closet and you see one of those, and you're like,
right, and you're like, ooh, if I tripped, that would just ooh. It just really creeps you. I love it.
Yeah. The first death in the most recent Final Destination that's witnessed by like everybody, because like here's like a big quick rundown of the plot, is that there's like this one lady, she had a premonition, and she sort of figured out how to stave off death, not escape death.
Right.
But like she lives alone in a cabin, and she like sends like news articles of like people dying and like gruesome shit to like her 2 estranged kids and all that shit.
Is that part of it? Like, does that help her stave off death?
Well, she's trying to keep her family safe.
Oh, okay.
And trying to get them to understand what she's going through, so she like sends all that shit. And then her granddaughter has like a nightmares for like 2 months straight of her premonition.
Oh.
Goes to visit her, and then she's like, you gotta like figure out how to stop this, all that stuff, yada yada. Like, you know, seeing is believing. And then she like steps outside of her like safe cabin, and then instantly gets like gruesomely killed.
Literally dies to make a point.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god.
And the great thing I feel like about the subsequent installments of the Final Destination franchise is they keep kind of expanding on the rules of the universe that they kind of establish. So there's like specific rules in Final Destination of like how it like kind of operates, right? So like death has essentially like a list of people that were supposed to die in this event.
Right. Now that they cheated death, they're like still due for it, but
they're still due for it, and they die in the order that they were supposed to die originally.
Oh, okay.
So typically in each movie they kind of figure that out. I think for some reason in Final Destination 2 they do reverse order. I was never really clear on why.
Death was just feeling silly.
Yeah, Death was just in a goofy mood in that one. But generally, it's like in the order that they died, Death will start taking them out one by one. But there's also rules about like how to avoid Death getting you. But the great thing is like you can never really avoid it. I think there's only one character in all of the movies that actually avoids death successfully.
And then like the main characters they go through?
It's no. So like they literally just appear. It was the main character in Final Destination 2. I think it was Kimberly. But essentially the rules for how to like either get skipped or cheat death is if somebody interferes in your death and like saves your life, then it skips you and goes to the next person in the order. But once it gets to the end of the order, comes back around. So they do end up, and they like don't realize that, and then typically like it's the end of the movie, and it's like, oh shit, it came back around, or like something like that.
Yeah, they gotta have the stinger at the end, which they did in this movie too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And then, but there's other ways. So like they introduced it in I think Final Destination 5, where it's like, oh, if you kill somebody, you get their remaining time. Like, they essentially replaced you in Death's plan, and you get essentially the time they have left.
So it behooves you to be a murderer or to find or kill a child, potentially.
A little bit.
Well, only if you escape death in a Final Destination-esque scenario.
Right,
it's not
right.
like there's mass murderers out there that are just like, all right,
Immortal.
you gotta go killing again. I'm like
Yeah.
800 years old.
Yeah, no, and like Death's kind of a petty bitch. So, but it's funny, they did make a joke kind of about that in this newest one.
A joke?
Where they're because like they introduced it like in Final Destination 5. This is the next one afterward. Also made like 14 years later, which is kind of crazy. But I think they were two of the characters were talking about it while in a hospital, and they were like, well, what if you just like kill somebody? It's like, no, I couldn't kill somebody. And then they like end up right next to like the like infant ward where there's like just a bunch of babies. And they're just like, they like look at each other and it's like, no. So
smother
it'd be a lot of time.
Just smother a baby.
No,
just
we're
one
not doing
baby. No. You can't smother no babies.
They go back and forth a little bit. They ultimately decide not to do it.
But the one way that you can successfully escape this whole thing without like killing somebody is actually dying and like being resuscitated. So actually being like your heart stopping, being dead, and then being brought back to life.
So can you like make your own death happen? Like once you realize you're in the Final Destination, can you go and like get your heart stopped and restarted?
They try it.
Yeah, you can certainly try, but if you're gonna try to fuck with Death, he's gonna try to fuck with you.
Okay.
So like the guy that dies in the MRI machine in this one, he wasn't even on Death's list because you find out that he was actually adopted, and so he's not part of the
illegitimate child. With
or not,
extramarital,
yeah.
Adopted.
Sorry, not adopted. He is the guy, the dad is not his actual dad. His actual dad is somebody else. So he wasn't in the bloodline. But he tried to like save his like half brother's life or by like killing him and then resuscitating him. But while they're like in that process, Death is not having it, and he kills him as well.
Oh, damn.
He was also like taunting Death the whole time.
All right,
Death
well, that's
does not
kinda,
appreciate that.
Yeah, if you're gonna be like, fuck you, Death, watch me, I'm gonna beat you, then yeah, you deserve that then.
Oh yeah, certainly.
You did say the word though, bloodline, which that's sort of the big revelation about how this whole shindig works in this movie, is because the grandma avoided death with the premonition and saved like everybody. Like, yes, like this was like a big thing full of people. This was like the grand opening of like this big new restaurant that was on the top of a really on the top of a really high elevator.
Yeah, I think like the Space Needle in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
It's like, and it's got like a glass floor and stuff, things like that.
Sure, very, very ominous to be on, and very Final Destination-esque, people would call it.
Sure,
in real life.
She was going to be like the second to last person to die. And so everyone else up until that point has died, and she's like living in her cabin and staying alive and all that stuff. But she also noticed that everyone else who died, their children and their grandchildren died in gruesome ways.
Yeah.
In a particular order as well. And so that's sort of the lot that Stephanie, the main character, gets handed, is that she's second to last in her line according to this like order of operations type deal.
Right.
And you know, after her uncle dies, she's like, okay, like this is totally real, I figured it out, and brings it to her family, and they're all like, you're fucking crazy, we're trying to mourn here. Like,
right, as
and
people
then
would.
Someone else dies, and they're like, okay, we believe you. But
Damn.
the way that he dies, the uncle, is a lot in that sort of like mundane thing. And it also does a really good job of like keeping the tension up, right?
The suspense throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, so you see at the very like beginning of they're having like a garden party type thing after the grandma died, which they were all estranged from, but you know, it brought some family members together, and they were having a garden party, and someone drops a glass, and a chunk of glass, pretty big shard, falls into the ice.
Ooh.
And then they serve drinks, and there's like, you know, they're firing up the grill and all that stuff, and it keeps on zooming in and making it really tense, and then like, you know, it just sort of like puffs up a little bit and everyone's fine. There's like a rake underneath the trampoline that everyone's jumping on.
Oh.
And then you know, someone goes and grabs the rake and puts it up again. And then like eventually the trampoline does break, but like there's no rake there and all that stuff. And the ice, like you don't know who got the glass in their cup, and they do like a fake out where like
Someone chokes on there, and they're like, oh, sorry, just a little.
There was a bug in it. That's fucking gross.
Yeah, so it really plays with like your expectations, because they do it in all the movies where it's like they'll show all the little parts of the Rube Goldberg machine getting like set up, and you're like, and then like sometimes they're like red herrings, and there's like so many of those. It's just like, oh, you think it's gonna go this way, and then it ends up being a completely different way. Like with the glass, like you think, oh, someone's gonna drink it the whole time, but it turns out that it gets knocked out of a glass
into someone's throat.
Goes on the grass, and then the uncle like steps on it and then falls backwards, and then a lawnmower runs over his head. Yeah. Jesus. And so it's just like you think it's gonna go one way, but it ends up going another way.
I love that though, the subversion of expectations. That's a lot of like what comedy is like in the Naked Gun movies, when you're just like, oh, it's gonna go this way, and then nope, and then it just takes left turn after left turn after left turn.
I mean, there's a lot of comedy in these movies too. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I love it.
Yeah, especially in this newer one, I feel like it was certainly the funniest of the installments.
They know their audience.
I mean, there was the baby killing scene. Well, they didn't, but like
they thought about it. Yeah. It makes sense, because that's the like as soon as they wrote that into the script, they were like, oh, it probably makes sense that someone would want to kill a baby, and they're just like, I write it in. Gotta write it in. This is like that's what the audience is gonna think as soon as they as soon as the audience hears that, they're gonna be like, oh, someone would definitely want to kill a baby, and then like as they see that on screen, it's just like perfect timing. I was thinking that too.
Yeah, and there's some other things about how the movies work, which it kind of changes from movie to movie almost, where it's like you can kind of see signs leading up to it, up to like each death. So like in a couple of them, it's just kind of like, oh, like there's kind of clues that you can see, like almost like predictions, where it's like, oh, like you can kind of see like a fan going in front of somebody's head, and it's like, oh, that's like a prediction for like somebody's head getting chopped off or something like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I think in the third one, it's all through like pictures. So that's the one with the roller coaster. And so like before the roller coaster, they're all at like, the amusement park, and the main character played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, is that her name? She was like the bad guy in Sky High, and also Ramona Flowers in Scott Pilgrim.
Okay, I recognize that.
Yeah. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I think. Sorry.
All I remember from Sky High is there's a guy that turns into a puddle, someone else that turns into a gerbil, and the main character like doesn't really have powers until like the end or something.
Yeah, and everybody turns into babies. Also, I guess spoilers for Sky High as well. Sorry, everybody.
Unintentional.
But yeah, in that one with the roller coaster, she like takes pictures of everybody before they go on the roller coaster, and then she's looking back through them afterwards, and she sees like clues about how they're going to die in each picture. Right. And in the fourth one, I think he actually like has like more premonitions as it goes along. I don't know. The fourth one's my least favorite, but just kind of the acting is flat and stuff in that one. But yeah, so it kind of changes. They kind of change things up with each movie a little bit, which keeps it like fresh and exciting. But I really like what they did with this newest one. With like adding the rule about like the bloodlines and everything like that. It's cool how it acts as both a prequel and a sequel to all of the films, because it starts off in like the 1960s or something, where the grandma survives that thing, the like building disaster, and saves like hundreds of people. And then the rest of the story takes place in like current day. But I think it's interesting since she saved like hundreds of people's lives. It took so long for it to get to her.
Right.
But I don't know. I was thinking about how it's possible that all of those people that she saved, it's like it could be that they were going about their lives and ended up in these places where the people in the previous movies were. And then, so like Death was trying to kill somebody from that list, but then ended up trying to like killing these people as like for example, the plane in the first one.
A whole subset, then it has to restart that subset before it gets back to that.
Exactly. So that's why it takes so long, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah,
and so I think about it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's like clues about any of that anywhere in the movies. Obviously, it'd be hard because it's like almost like retconning things a little bit, but yeah. Because you do see a little bit of it in Final Destination 5, where there's like a big plot twist at the end where the main characters end up on the flight for the people in the first Final Destination movie. And you see the like main character in Final Destination 5 seeing the main character in Final Destination 1 like getting off the plane and stuff. Then that person like dies on that flight 180,
right?
And like sets off that movie in motion. So you see how like they're kind of almost connected in certain ways, which I think is cool. They're kind of building on that with the movies.
If I like that. We like get a recording of it, when it goes on streaming or whatever. We could probably get a closer look at the newspapers, because there's a whole Beautiful Mind like newspaper clippings, everything's connected type thing, except they just use tape instead of string. Of everyone that died in between the Sky place and like where they end up today, and we could look in there and see if there is any connection.
Oh, I'm sure there's people much more dedicated to this on Reddit that have already done it, but
maybe not yet, because it's still only in theaters.
That's
right?
True. That's true.
It's kind of hard to. I mean, I'm sure there's rip out there somewhere, but you can't really guarantee that it's of the good enough quality. So something will come out at some point, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we'll reap the benefits with doing none of the work. So
what would you say is your favorite of the Final Destination franchise? This last one, does it top it for you?
It's up there, honestly. I think the first two are great. The third one I really like. The fourth one's probably my least favorite. But I'd say probably 2, or the new one, the Bloodlines.
Wow.
I really liked it. Just like, I think the characters were very likable. I like there's part of the side of Final Destination where it's like you kind of, the part of the thrill of it is like you don't care about the characters, they're all gonna die.
Right, yeah.
We're just here to see some like gruesome deaths.
Exactly.
But also I buy into the story more if I like the characters.
Sure.
And
You want to root for them a little bit, and
A little.
that
Right.
makes it heavier when they can't get away.
Right. And you're like, no, I wanted at least you, maybe. Oh.
Yeah, and Final Destination 2, I did like how one person did end up surviving and cheating death by, getting resuscitated, which I thought was a cool little one-off sort of there. Like somebody actually figured it out and beat death at his game.
Do you think that is the person who's being referred to in Bloodlines when they find the note that JB found one person who...
Yeah. So there's like a recurring character. He's not in all of them, but he's like this coroner.
He's in multiple?
He's in the first one. He's like kind of an ominous figure in a lot of them.
He looked pretty ominous in this one, too.
Damn.
Yeah, so...
Is he death?
No, he's played by Tony Todd, who unfortunately just passed right after filming this movie. So he
rest in
passed
peace.
after the filming, but before the release of the movie. So R.I.P. Tony Todd.
Yeah.
But apparently the directors like allowed him to like craft his like final lines and everything like that. Like he knew he was dying. Like he had like some sort of disease.
Sure, but hell yeah,
Also,
that's cool.
This movie does write him out because he was the last person to die after the grandma. And then so the grandma dies, and they talk about JB, and then they meet him, and it ends up being the same guy, which, went right over my head. And then he's like, well, I'm just going to accept it. I'm going to do what I can with the time I have left. And he walks out of, he goes into a room and isn't seen again.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a great kind of throwback to like, especially like he's a big thing in like the first two Final Destination movies. I think he also makes an appearance in the fifth one, but essentially he's kind of just like this ominous figure that like says like very like kind of creepy things, but like warns the main characters that of like what's going on and like gives them some like clues about how to survive, and this like very much gives context to it, which I really liked.
Yeah, like how the hell did he find this out? Like, oh, well, someone else had a premonition and like was able to convince him.
Yeah, so exactly, it gives him some context for like why he knows all of these things and everything like that, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, what were we talking about? I feel like we got onto Tony Todd somehow.
We were talking about JB the coroner and how he was a recurring character. So he was like this ominous figure just telling people about like different things that were coming through them. And he actually got like, you said he got to craft his own lines and like basically send off himself. I mean, his character was like, oh, I'm going to do whatever I can with the time I had left. But, I mean, that was probably a lot more of himself than the character coming through there, you got to think.
Oh, for sure.
That's heavy.
Certainly.
I mean, what an interesting person to, see what their perspective is on death.
Right.
And for him to say that, in the context of a Final Destination movie, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a cool way to get to send yourself off. The directors let him do that. Hell yeah, Tony Todd.
Man.
Yeah, I've never watched the Final Destinations, though. I've really got to get on watching that series. They said that, so the first one came out, I think we looked it up right before. It was like 2005?
The first one came out in 2000.
2000,
and then
shit.
it was first one was 2000, then 2003, 2006, 2009, 2011, and now the newest one, which is 2025.
Yeah, 14 years
Really?
later.
I
Yeah.
thought you were saying that 5 was done like more recently, and then they did this one. But no, 5 was in 2011.
Yeah,
Okay.
5 was in 2011.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I guess I haven't heard of a Final Destination movie in a while.
That's what I'm saying. I felt like they were just like 2000s things, and I guess they were like right around the aughts, just literally 2000 to 2011.
Yeah, they
That's
were
crazy.
cranking them out, one every like 3 years, pretty much.
Yeah, I imagine it's got to be like a huge, high-budget production thing. All the like the big, car crash death scenes. Like, there's a lot of different work that has to go into it. So it probably takes 3 years to make it.
Sure, yeah. I'm interested to see if they continue on with some Final Destination stuff. I mean,
And they just expanded the lore.
yeah, they did just expand the lore, and it's a kind of movie concept that's pretty just repeatable. Like, as long as you can come up with, like, kind of cool, creative new deaths, like, you can keep cranking those bad boys out, and people will keep watching them.
That's literally all. That's all slasher movies survived on. Was just like, all right, I want to watch this man who kills. Let's see all the ways he kills. All of the characters in slasher movies you were meant to hate. They were stupid teenagers who were just doing dumb things, and you're like, I don't like you. I hope you die next. Like that was the. Instead of they went the opposite route of like making you love the characters. Like, oh, I hope you die last, or maybe get away. They're like, I hope you die first. Like, hope you have the stupidest death possible. Hope you go out to smoke your cigarette like, oh, you want to do, and then you just get your head chopped off.
Yeah, I do.
Some dumb shit.
There are some characters throughout the movies where it's like you are rooting for them to die. They're just like kind of shitheads, and you're like, and that is very, very therapeutic. Or you're just like, hell yeah, that guy got what's coming to him. Like I think in 4, there's like this like super just like racist redneck guy, and he ends up getting, he's like trying to like burn a cross in some black guy's front yard, and ends up getting dragged down the street by his own like tow truck hook.
That's pretty apropos though.
Yeah, for sure.
That's like in I think in Red Dead 2 is the same thing. You can find like them trying to set up like early members of the Ku Klux Klan trying to set up a cross. They just get crushed by it because it's so big. Like they drop it on themselves. That's so. Yeah,
funny. I love the ones that are very much like Karma. You know, where it really seems like they got what's coming for them. You know.
Yeah, it's interesting that they went the opposite route of that, of just like actually making you care for the characters, because it's every single person dies, right? Like there's not a single person in this Final Destination 5 or 6, I guess this is now, that survives.
Yeah, nobody that's like on death's list. You have like people that are like, you know, side characters that aren't like descendants of the grandma,
right?
Iris, but.
They established that early, and they actually go and do more people than the list because of that one half brother who tries to cheat death. Which also, real quick, going back to the comedy of it, this is like a tattoo artist, like piercer guy. I think he's just a piercer, and he tattoos himself, like stuff like that. And he has a big scene where they, you know, before they figure out that he's an illegitimate child, where like he gets a chain from the ceiling, wraps around a fan, and then that chain goes and attaches to his nose ring.
It's like septum ring.
Yeah, and then it starts lifting him up, and there's like a fire on the ground from like the cleaning solution and all that stuff, and then you hear him screaming as the whole place goes up in flames, and then you just see him walking around the next day, and he's like, yeah, it fucked up my leather jacket, but I'm fine. But later in the MRI scene, because that's what gets him, as a piercer, he has a bunch of piercings, so it pulls off like his nose ring, and like some of his like earrings and stuff, and then you see his nipple rings come out, and then you see his dick go up.
Yeah, he's got the what is it, the Prince Albert or something like that?
Yeah. That's a rough one.
Yeah, there's many reasons why I'm not getting that piercing, but that's just one more, you know. Yeah. I did just get the septum piercing, and now I'm like, Thankfully, it's not closed. It has a little opening on the bottom here, so if anything gets hooked in there,
no chain.
I should be able to unhook it pretty easily. But also, there's in this newest one, there's like a whole thing with the penny. So, like, one of the causes of the initial catastrophe is this, like, penny that, like, a kid tries to throw off the roof of it, and it, like, gets sucked into the ventilation system and causes a bunch of shit
shithead kid.
Okay.
Real shithead. He was just told not to throw the penny off.
Yeah.
Right.
Said, I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah. And he doesn't die? He gets to survive?
In the premonition, he gets crushed by a piano.
Yeah, he's the only person to make it off of the restaurant all the way up there and survive. But after he makes it to the bottom, a piano slips out from there and lands on him, and we all laughed at that one.
Yeah,
he's fucking caused it.
That's what you get, kid.
Yeah, exactly. But so the penny like ends up getting saved by the grandma, and ends up at the end of the movie, throughout the movie, it like slips out of the book that she was keeping it in, and then some old woman picks it up, and then at the end of the movie, it like gets dropped and like rolls down, and like causes a train to derail by getting like in between the rail and like the splitter thing that changes the tracks.
Yeah, it's like someone selling lemonade, and so she goes into her coin purse, and that penny falls out. It goes through all these different like loops and like keeps on rolling and stuff like that, and then gets into the rail splitter.
Love that.
But I don't know if you guys saw that they're like discontinuing penny manufacturing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're like stop making pennies. I'm like, is it a coincidence that Final Destination Bloodlines just came out? Everything happened kind of just because of a penny, and now they're stopping to make pennies.
They figured it out. Death was coming in through pennies. He was putting all of the magical forces in there, so now we've stopped making them.
Or it's just propaganda to make us okay with them discontinuing pennies.
Ooh, you think Final Destination's the bad guys? They're trying to push penny propaganda.
They're in the U.S. Treasury's pocket.
They're pushing anti-penny propaganda.
Yeah.
Big penny.
How do you guys feel about the discontinuation of the penny?
I feel like it's warranted. There's so many things where it's just like you get pennies back, and it's nonsense. You never use them for anything. If everything was, you set it to where everything was going to be in bases of 5s and 0s, I feel like we'd be just a cleaner society altogether.
Truly, I'm so for it, but like I was surprised. Like one of my friends was like pretty anti the discontinuation of the penny, and I was like, why? And he was like, oh well, you know, first they're gonna stop making pennies, and then they're gonna stop making other coins, and then they're just gonna get rid of cash altogether, and it's all gonna be like credit cards and stuff, and we're gonna have to pay all these fees to credit card companies and things. And I'm like, first of all, slippery slope fallacy.
That's a real yeah.
But also, like, come on, man, it's like the value of a penny is so just insignificant towards our like cost of living. It's like, what are you really using pennies for?
Nothing other than coin collecting, and just like it's taking up space. It's
besides the penny crushing machines at like museums.
Make them nickel crushing machines. Then everybody you get a little bit of a bigger thing anyway. You know how thick nickels are? You can probably do so much with that metal. You can make a big old medallion out of it.
Exactly. I'm ready for the pennies to be gone from my life forever.
Wow, ridiculous.
I don't mind. It's just like you still gotta accept them. That's my whole thing. Is in a transaction, you still got to accept them, and then you just have the treasury come by to banks and collect them and exchange them for bills or something like that.
Yeah.
You just got to wait for enough petty people to pay their parking tickets or whatever in all pennies. You just have the banks come by.
If we see an uptick of those videos, I'm telling you, it's a conspiracy to quicken the end of the penny, which I'm not that mad about.
Yeah.
But they're trying.
Yeah,
They're
but
trying.
still.
They should have gotten rid of the penny and the nickel, and then just made everything
I'm good with that. All zeros?
1/10 of the price, and then the dime is the new penny.
I
Then we don't have a 5-cent coin anymore.
Yeah, it would make things weird to just like you'd have to make all math. There'd probably be a lot of rounding that would have to be done, and then
There already is. To fives. Because we don't have a penny.
Wait, well, I mean, are they actually doing that now because we don't have a penny? Like they're starting to round things to 5?
I mean, I assume they will, but also like like we moved from like 1999 to 1995 being the thing for 20, like you know the round thing for $20 a while ago.
Oh yeah,
I don't see things for sale for 1999. I've seen them for 1995.
Yeah, getting rid of the nickel though would cause some issues with like quarters. I feel like.
Yeah, because then you still have the 25-cent.
Yeah, exactly. It's not an even 10.
Right.
And
you have to get the JFK dollars back out. The
infinite money glitched where you like pay for something with like something that's I don't know worth a nickel with a quarter. You know, shit, that wouldn't work. You pay for something that's worth 4 cents with a quarter, and then they have to give you back 3 dimes.
Wow. Okay.
Or they just say, no, we round down and give you back the 2 because fuck you. Fuck your infinite money glitch.
Damn.
Doing it 4 cents at a time, trying to cheat the U.S. economy.
Yeah, I would rather die than see the quarter discontinued. I love the quarter.
The quarter is such a good coin.
I need it for laundry, right?
There's so many things.
Part of me does kind of want to see discontinued for that reason, so they can't.
Do you know why?
Then you'll have to carry around like dollar bills.
Dude, all of these.
I'll just rip the thing off.
All of these bills got their cool new like updates. The 5, the 10, the 20, the hundo is the big one. You know why the single has been the same forever? Vending machines. There's so many vending machines out there that still have to be able to read singles. They're like, if we change this, all those vending machines are just going to be fucked.
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
true.
It's crazy.
It's also George Washington, #1, baby. You can't.
Yeah, but like they didn't take Abraham Lincoln off the 5. They just put a purple 5.
Well, he wasn't the 5th president.
I'm just saying, like, they don't have to change the Washington moniker. They just, spruce it up, add a little more word art, like they did for the 100. Add some fun little confetti on there or something. Yay, #1. I don't know, something fun. Our money sucks. It's all
they could
boring.
add the holographic edition like they did with hundos.
Yeah, it's I'm saying the $100 bill is like our coolest bill. 5's got kind of cool because they got the purple on them, but it's just like Canadian money. Like that shit's rad. You're going to a Canadian strip club. It's a fucking confetti fest, probably.
Yeah, they should change the sizes too, because that's what they do. I think with the euro. And
really?
It makes it easier for like blind people to be able to tell because they're different sizes. So
yeah,
it's like,
slightly so.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard
for
blind or visually impaired people to like tell what bill is what, and so they can get swindled that way. But but changing the size of it, it's like, oh no, each one's a different size. They can figure that out.
That's pretty cool. I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, change the size of bills, make our money less boring. Ones you can't really change, but yeah, I guess. But
I want them to be stars, man.
That'd be kind of
cool. Yeah, that's American as hell too.
Like in Fallout, paying with bottle caps, you just like drop a whole handful of stars
on
the counter.
Just all star shaped. Start making stars.
If you fold your dollars into
stars as well.
If you fold your dollars into stars, they can't not accept them.
That's
it's
true.
still legal tender. All of it's there.
Just fold them into ninja stars and throw them at them.
You get like your soda and chips, just like stick 3 of them in his chest. He's just like, oh, thank you. Falls down.
And then you say, keep the change.
Yeah, we need more violent ways of payment. Yeah. That's what I've always said.
We've talked about this before, how we need more like guns in like for comedy things. Like I want to be able just to punctuate sentences with firing a gun in the air. Just like, oh, my card gets declined. Like, oh, fire it off, and you're like, let me try another one. Man, it's just it would really escalate, but then I feel like the immediate de-escalation, it just adds to the comedy, It'd be fun. It'd be dangerous and definitely would not be, worth, implementing in any way because people would get killed, but the idea is fun.
Yeah, certainly. Hypothetically.
You gotta live in the hypothetical world sometimes.
A little bit.
Ooh, just make dollars sharp.
Ooh,
on all the edges.
Make them hard, sharp things. Yeah, like make them kind of like credit cards, but like make almost like fake money to where like they're really rigid, so where like you could throw it real easily, like playing cards.
Oh yeah.
Like, you
put it on your wallet and you just go, and you're broke.
Well, they'll have like they'll fold in half, but they'll have like a little hinge they can lock while they're solid.
$1 will cost $10, which was the issue with the penny. Supposedly, is that the cost of a penny itself, like the materials, is worth more than 1 cent.
Yeah, I think that's their like official reason for getting rid of it. It was just like it's not worth making them anymore.
I guess that makes sense.
Because they're just like, but it's illegal to deface legal tender. But like your penny, like literally, if you just took like $1 worth of pennies and melted it down, like potentially it could be worth more than $1. So.
Yeah, but the raw material. They don't use copper to make pennies anymore, though, right?
It was like zinc for the entire core, and then like a copper,
like shell or whatever, like cat. Interesting.
Like electroplate or something. I don't really know. I don't work for the mint.
I ain't no penny man. That's about a good time to call it for this episode of Cold Hard Trash, CRT episode 53. Thanks so much for joining us, Danny. It's really fun talking about the Final Destination with you.
It was a blast. I'm happy to do it anytime.
I really got to check those out. I've got to get up on my murder porn. I'm super into the slasher films, the Saw movies. Final Destination was just off my radar.
Yeah, well, great franchise. We'll do a little movie marathon day.
Yeah,
watch all of them in a row.
That'd be really fun.
Also, final piece of context. The reason that we're doing this episode with Danny is partly because we were at a bar with them, and he said, I really want to come on the podcast and talk about the new Final Destination movie. And that's why we saw it this morning, because he really wanted to talk about it, but he hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah, it was a busy week.
If you ever want to get on the podcast, that's how you do it. Thanks
Find
for
us
listening.
at the bar.
We appreciate you tuning in. Rate us 5 stars. Leave a comment if you enjoyed it. If not, go to hell. See ya.
Bye.